Hello, welcome to another episode of The Way I See It. Today I'm interviewing my friend Lee Robbins, and I've been trying to line up this interview with him for a couple of months. So we finally got it together, and I'm excited for you to hear his story. He works in the reentry field with returning citizens, those coming out of jail and prison, and trying to help them re-enter society and be successful in life. So here is my interview with Lee Robbins. I'm here with my friend Lee Robbins, and Lee, thank you so much for coming on my show.
Hey, thank you for having me, Rachel. I appreciate the opportunity here.
This will give you a chance to tell everybody your story, and I'll share it, and you can share it with as many folks through social media as you care to, and I'm looking forward to it. So tell everybody how we know each other.
Well, Rachel, we met in GGRA, Greater Gwinnett Reentry Alliance coalition, one of the most effective coalition that Rachel so happened to become one of our presidents there. And I was on the board at the time. And Rachel, when you came on, you did a fantabulous job as president. I was so proud of that organization. Actually, that organization was sort of 501c3, and we were meeting in my church at the time, and it was 501c3 with Russell Gray and all that. And so yeah, I met you there, and it's just a delight that I've known you. You have made that organization much more valuable with your leadership. Thank you so much.
So let's start at the beginning. Tell us, and on this show, I like to interview folks and find out just their life story. So I just want to start at the beginning of when you were born, where you were born, and what life was like for you growing up. You don't have to tell me the exact year if you don't want everybody to know.
Yeah, it's gonna be. Hey, listen, I really don't care about it's already telling off on me. This grade. So I try to look at it as, hopefully it's the lessons I learned over the years that's earned me these grades,
That's
right?
Right.
But no, I can go back to Houston, Texas, this little boy of 5. We have 5 of us siblings, so I make the 5th one. And
you the baby?
Yeah. So I'm the one that kind of was observing my brothers and sisters in the ghettos of Houston, Texas, watching them make mistakes and learning from their mistakes, and just realizing I don't want to give my mom and my dad any more problems. So I'm going to try to be the good guy, right? In the family. But I made my share of mistakes. It's just that they didn't know about them. I was like good old Junior, but good old Junior, was doing his stuff. My brothers and my siblings knew it, and they pointed the finger at me every time when I did something, because they didn't want my mom to be deceived about your little Junior, because he's getting in just as much trouble as we are. So yeah, I started there, and but I was determined to excel, seeing so many of my siblings fail, never really going to college. They all graduated from high school. So I decided I was going to go to college. And I went to University of Houston, got my business computer information systems degree. Didn't want to stop there, because at that point, I thought a calling came on my life, and I just, didn't want that calling. I was running from that calling, Rachel. I was like, okay, I left God at the starting line, right? And then I found out he was at the finish line too.
Now, when you were growing up, were your parents raising y'all in the faith, or was it just kind of a lot of times in the South, it's just a cultural thing. Like, yeah, we believe in God.
It was a cultural thing for us. We grew up in a Baptist church. Mama we were drug kids. I say drug kids, she drug us to church. We really didn't want to be there, but and don't get late. Don't wake up and not up in time. If you don't get to the restroom, she becomes your restroom. And I'm telling you, in other words, she's dragging you in the car, using her wiping your face and all that, and cleaning you up and all. And I'm like, no, Mama, you should have been ready. And I had a tough mom, She was an ex-alcoholic. I was made fun of as a kid because your mom worked 2 or 3 jobs as a maid. Catching bus after bus, and then with all that anxiety, she drunk. She got a few drinks after work and staggered home.
Yeah.
He was like staggering home, and my friend like, okay, here's Lee Robinson Jr. That's what they call me. Mother who's drunk, staggering from one side of the street to the other, and my friends made fun of me. And
So you
this
said
really,
so you said she was tough on you and dragging you to church because she was a former alcoholic. At what age were you when she kind of thought, I'm going to quit this. I'm not going to do this anymore?
well, at 15, when I became 15, it's about the same time um, when I decided that I was not going to do drugs and myself and out there selling drugs. And I just realized I had a real problem that I needed to change at 15. And so I started going to church on my own. you know, Mom didn't have to drag me to church. Now I started going to church. My sister met the Lord, led me to the Lord at 15. My life started changing. I got rid of the drugs and things of that nature. My mom at that time, became an AA counselor, at this point. Now she was had us in Al-Anon and really just did a great job in helping her family come out of the ghettos.
So what exposure did you have to drugs? Because you said, I decided I wasn't going to do them. Had you dabbled in them? Had you seen your older
Right.
siblings doing it? Or was it just around you in your neighborhood?
Oh, yeah, no, my brother was my teacher, my older brother. He taught me how to, sell drugs, how to, smoke them. He was my discipleship maker. I mean, he discipled me. And yeah, I was in the neighborhood too. I mean, it was all around us. I tell you, the thing that really helped to bring about the change in me was that when my best friend sort of took a bullet for me,
Mm-hmm.
not sort of, but he took a bullet for me because we had got into a brawl like a few days before that. And these guys wanted to come back for me. And at a house party, we call them house party. As soon as we stepped into the threshold of the house, the gun was pointed at me, and my best friend stepped in front of it and took the bullet. And that's when the beginning of real change started taking place at 15.
Did he die or did he survive that?
He died.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, he did die, and I didn't really know where his state was with God. I don't know. Can't judge that, but I just knew we were all doing bad things.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I know that I know I wouldn't have made it if I was him. He might have done, he's a good guy, in a sense. He was very giving, nice, had different personality. He was very sacrificial. He had a lot of the fruits of a Christian, but he was out there doing stuff with me too, and took a bullet for me. And then that just caused me to reevaluate what I needed to do if I was going to live.
So
So
when you graduated high school and you said you went to the University of Houston to get your degree?
yeah, that's part of the change at 15. And then in my high school years, I started really bringing about change, committing into church and all the youth ministry, and start getting part and plugged in the church. And I was probably the youngest person at our church. I had a lot of older mentors that really helped me out, my pastor and deacons and people like that took interest in me and put me on their wings. And so that kind of led me to go to school. I said, well, let me do more. I was called to be a preacher at 15, but I thought preachers were poor, so I didn't want to do that. So I said, I need to go ahead and get a formal education, something where I could take care of myself, and I could preach for free. I want to just preach for free. And so that's why I got my first degree at the University of Houston as a business computer information system. It's a dual degree, computers and business together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of what MIS is today,
Yeah. Well, where'd you
Mhm.
go from there after college?
Well, after college, I start, feeling like I needed to do more with my calling and educate myself because people today are more educated today, and you need to be educated as a leader, as a pastor, because people in your pews they're educated, and so I said I need to go and get my master's degree
Hmm.
in divinity and prepare me for pastoring because I knew at that point when I was running from God. I ran from the starting line. He showed up at the finish line and said, I'm still here waiting on you to do my will. And so I said, okay, I surrender. Because you know what happened, Rachel? I mean, literally people may not see God as this way, but this is how I kind of saw him. He stripped me of everything. Like, I didn't have a job. I was um, I was living with my sister who could not cook. I hated that. And he kind of my girlfriend. I broke up with my girlfriend,
Mhm.
and it was just like mayhem. I mean, it's like I need to do something. My life is messed up, and I'm a Christian now.
Mhm.
I'm behind. The drugs are behind me. The alcohol is behind me. But I'm seem like I have the worst time of my life, even after becoming a Christian.
Yeah,
And
sometimes that's
so
how it is.
yeah. So that kind of led me to say, okay, I'm going to obey God and go to school, get my master's of divinity at Oral Roberts University. And then maybe one day I could be a pastor. Met my wife there in seminary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. She was the only one, actually the only one I knew of female that was in a master's of divinity pastoral degree that she was studying.
Hmm.
And most of them would not do that because they weren't thinking about being a pastor back in that time. They were like, I don't want to be a pastor now. But my wife, you got to know my wife. She is like her own leader. She's got her own mind. She does her own thing. So the way I want her, Rachel, I'm gonna tell you how I want her. I said, listen, I said, don't you know that I look at you not from the fall, but before the fall as Eve, the Eve before the fall. And let me tell you about the Eve before the fall. The Eve before the fall was the Eve that God says, I want to get male and female dominion.
Mhm.
And I want them to be fruitful and multiply, replenish, to do and have dominion. So he said, I want to get both of them in their most perfect state. Right. And then the fall came, So I said, that's how I see you. And that's how I always see you as a leader, And so that's how we began to connect at seminary. She was just like she is now, much smarter than I am. I'm telling her IQ is way, mm, you know, she helped me through seminary. I was flunking out.
now, now, where is Oral Roberts? Where is the seminary?
Oral Roberts is in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay, I
And
knew it was out in the Midwest somewhere.
yeah, it's it's like the Harvard School for Christians.
Yeah.
Like it's a very good. So it was so tough at that school academically, I was kind of failing, but my wife was there to help me out there. And then I became spirit filled in that process. And when I became spirit filled, that's when I was able to really go to another level in my thinking,
Hmm.
because it elevated my mind to a whole nother level where I was able to retain a lot of my studies. And it was just my wife now. Now I'm really making A's and B's all the time and end up graduating from Oral Roberts after almost flunking out
Mm.
to a 3.4 average at Oral Roberts University and graduated with that. So that was pretty cool. And that happened through the Holy Spirit. My wife is my second Holy Spirit. Just in case I missed the first one, I missed the
Right.
first one, the second,
Help
second
open your eyes and open your ears to hear what you've been blocking out from the Holy Spirit. Now, so
yes.
when did y'all get married? Did y'all get married while y'all were still in seminary or right after you graduated or what?
Yeah. We got married while we were still in seminary and back in 86.
Now, how old is your oldest child?
96. My wife gonna kill me. 96.
She's like, how old are you telling people we are?
My oldest child, she was born in 98.
Oh.
So we didn't have too much. So my wife says, I had already graduated from Oral Roberts,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like, I'm not having any children until I graduate myself. So she graduated a year right after I graduated, and we had our first child in 1998, November 98.
Now, how many kids you got?
We have 3 total now. I got 2 boys and 1 big bold girl. She's the oldest.
Girl, she's the oldest. That's right.
Oh, she's the oldest. She runs things around here. She's 22 now. But yeah, I always talk about, I work very hard, and I got 4 pockets, Rachel, right? And my daughter got 2 of them locked down. I'm telling you, she got 2 locked down. My sons have to fight over one pocket. And my wife just, bless her soul, she's trying to hold on to that last little pocket because the boys be trying to get it, I guess I got secret departments for me,
So tell me, so you got married, you had kids, and it was happily ever after from then.
Oh, really? Right?
I know your story enough. No, that's not the case.
Yeah, after the first year, right? The first year, here we go. First year we doing good. I don't think we made a full year, but here's the deal. We're both preachers, ministers, theologians. We understand the Bible very well. And our pillow talk was about fights on the Bible, about the Bible, interpretations of this. And we both, understand Greek and Hebrew. And so we're fighting on, our fights were like biblical fights, and how we should conduct ourselves and what should happen and take place in churches. Because we're going to now pastor a church. And so we got to be on one accord on how this church should look and the theology that we're going to be teaching, because both of us are going to be ministering this. So we have to begin. So yeah, we had those kind of fights. And then when the kids come along, we first had our fight about a little dog. That first dog was our first kid, a little mixed dog. And this little dog, I assumed, Rachel, that, when you get married, the wife is going to go ahead and take care of your breakfast, And I'm sitting over there. She's got her bowl of cereal. I got my bowl. Well, I didn't have no bowl in front of me. The dog had
You're just wondering.
Yeah, the dog had his bowl of cereal, and she went over there and fixed the dog's food. And I thought, okay, I'm just waiting, and I'm just. And she by the time she halfway done with her cereal, I'm like, what about mine? You're like, you can get your own. I'm like, what? I said, you fix the dogs over there. She said, the dog can't fix his own food, but you can fix yours. Go ahead and get your food over there. I was like, oh, Lord have mercy. What have we done? No, she's been very, very, she's been very helpful. And I'm talking about a helpmate. I couldn't have a better partner, to assist not only in the home in raising our children, but also in the ministry. She's helped me plant 5 churches since then. And now she's doing her own ministry right now, but she's been very helpful. So yeah, we've had our fights about Bible stuff.
But tell me how it all went downhill, because I met you obviously through your work in the GGRA, but you have a heart for returning citizens because you've been incarcerated. How did that happen?
Yeah, when we were in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I finally graduated. We graduated, she graduated, and we were to move to Georgia. Right. While I was there, I run a business, accounting firm and tax firm in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that actually I didn't expect it to be that successful. I just wanted to have a few clients, I was going to do a few tax returns, and have some bookkeeping clients and just enough to take care of us while we were in school. And it just started growing and growing and growing. And it grew so much that I was able to hire 5 employees to help me do the business. And so, long story short, we getting ready to graduate. We graduated and getting ready to move to Georgia. And I left the business to an employee there to run. And when I left the business and I left the state of Oklahoma to come to Georgia to plant a church. me and my wife, very first church. We planted that church and we were not able to focus on the business as much. And so that employee started doing tax returns on the side that I didn't know nothing about. Zero. And was getting money for it, and so because he didn't run things. I'm very conservative in my tax preparation, but he was more liberal in his tax preparation. He was helping his friends out with deductions and stuff like that, and got in trouble. When he got in trouble, because it was my company, I got in trouble. So I'm like, okay, we're going to trial. I'm not taking no plea. I didn't do anything. We're going to trial. And so this is the first time, really, most people have heard my testimony on your show.
I haven't heard the details yet.
You're getting ready to get the exclusive version. Well, everybody else gonna know about it now, but anyway.
Right. It's exclusive to me because right now we're not on YouTube. It's just you and me. So now
okay,
I do know it before.
I'm just saying, I'm gonna share my testimony fully, and so I go to trial, and unfortunately, when I was in trial, tax returns that the evidence that they gave to me, concerning the case, did not have my signature on. But the ones that was introduced into evidence did have a stamped signature on it that come from my company there. And I noticed that, and they stopped the proceedings, and my life changed. And the next day, all I knew my lawyer telling me was, hey, I didn't tell you this a year ago when we were preparing for this trial. I have 5 years of tax returns I didn't do. I'm like, why are you telling me that now? We're in the middle of a trial, a tax trial. And I really didn't put two to two together, but long story short, they got to him. I never had a trial put up for me to defend myself. And when I wanted to get on a stand, which my lawyer was planning on for me to get on the stand and say I didn't do those tax returns, he never let me get on the stand to say that. And it was my word against the co-defendant, which was so happened to be my employee. He said he didn't do the tax returns, and I was not able to say I didn't do the tax returns. It's an easy win for them, right? Because it was just my word against his word. And so they had to find me guilty of false tax returns. So they sentenced me to 3.5 years of prison, federal prison time, which you do 85% of the time. And it was just devastating to my wife, to my ministry, to my children. Just imagine.
How old were your kids? Yeah.
Yeah, my kid, I had 1, 2, 5, and 7. So just think about me dropping them off at the daycare, one of the members of our church kept him while I turned myself in. And so my wife was taking me to turn myself in to a federal prison camp while I'm kissing them goodbye, knowing that I'm not going to see them again in that light for another 3.5 years. It was devastating. They were just like, see you, Dad. We see you tonight. Da, da, da. We see you. And I'm like, oh, you just don't know. You're not going to see me in this light again. I'm not going to be able to come home and play Credible Huck with you. I'm not going to be able to, eat at the table with you for 3.5 years. And so my wife checks me in. I get you into prison.
Now, while you were in prison, was that here in Georgia then?
Yeah. We got it to be closer, here in Georgia. So it's Atlanta prison camp here in Georgia.
Yeah.
And man, I can tell you about the first night. It's going to be in my book, Breaking Bars, that I'm writing, and it's going to be in my documentary too. So
you don't have to tell me about it then if you don't want to spill the beans.
I'll tell you some things, but when I was the first night, I'll tell you about the first night was like horrifying. I mean, when the lights went off, it was like hell. and it was time to, and I'll explain the details in my documentary and the movie, but it was like, I was like, I got barbed wire fence sickness because those barbed wire fence, the barbed wires were saying to me, you're going nowhere. This is your home for 3.5 years. And some people it's 10 years. Some people it's 30 years. And every time I think about the 30 years, the 10 years, my knees just buckle, and I'm grateful for 3.5 years. Right. So when I was in there, I was mad at God. I was mad at God because God allowed this to happen to me, and I got snatched out of my pulpit to go to prison from my people, from my loved ones, and I didn't do it. I was truly an innocent person incarcerated. And when I was in there, I was grieved. What I saw was, it's just inhumane. And I have to live in this. I have to eat this food. I'm used to living middle class. And then I go to something like that all of my belongings are in a box like this. I'm talking about my clothes, my personal hygiene, my books. You can get a box like 3x4 or whatever. It wasn't too big at all.
Yeah, they say there has to be something that just kind of dies in your heart in a moment like that, because they talk about how innocence is not as important to anyone as it is to the innocent person who's falsely accused. Like,
yeah, the truth, right? Other people,
you feel completely
yeah,
betrayed or whatever.
yeah. You're angry. You're angry at everything. I'm angry at God. I'm angry at man. I'm angry at myself. I'm angry, and I'm like, God, I'm not gonna let anybody know I'm a preacher in here. I just got snatched out of my pulpit. I'm not gonna let anybody know I'm a Christian. I'm just gonna do my time in grief, because I'm not supposed to be here. And then I had a paradigm shift while about the year in prison, paradigm. And as I seen these guys stealing out of the kitchen, throwing bread over the fence, stealing out of the kitchen, I'm like, dude, y'all caught. What are you stealing for? I mean, and God said, can these bones live? He started asking me, you can be mad at God so long, and then you miss him so much to the point where you're like, this is not working either way. And so I said, God, like Ezekiel 37, I said, you omniscient. Why are you asking me? I'm mad at you anyway. Don't talk to me. And he said, I want you to speak life to them. He said, I want you to speak life to them. I said, what does that mean? He said, I want you to prophesy and I want you to speak life to them. I said, what does that mean? He said, I want you to encourage them. I want you to be there for them. And then he said, I want you to speak to the four winds. And the four winds, I want you to speak life to the four winds. And the four winds need to speak life to the dry bones. The dry bones represented returning citizens. The dry bones represented incarcerated people that were left to die or dead, marginalized, the least of these. That's what those dry bones represented to me. And so after I got over myself and had that paradigm shift where God showed me this, he said, you're innocent, but you're not sinless. I said, God, what are you talking? He said, he said, you're innocent, but you're not sinless. And I said, what are you talking about? And I know Bible, right? I just graduated from seminary. And he said, I told you to close that office. And you did not close it. And I even confirmed that with your wife. This is how he's speaking, not audibly to me, but in my spirit. He said, I even had your wife to confirm that you should close that office. And the reason why I didn't close the office is because I did not want to have that in particular employee not to have a job. And I didn't, because he came to me without a job. He was in my church, a member of my church. And I just did not want to leave him unemployed. Because if I closed that office, he would have been unemployed and couldn't take care of his family, which all that is good and great, but that's a good thing. And this is what God taught me. He said, that's not a God thing. You did the good thing, but you didn't do the God thing. Because I told you to close the office because he foreseen
Mm-hmm.
that this employee was going to take advantage of me. And so I've learned how to do good things since, and not God things, God things and not good things.
Not just
Yeah,
good.
the other way around. So yeah, so that's my testimony. How, and then I eventually did my time, got out early from the Second Chance Act, 6 months early. I was one of the beneficiaries of the 2 in the federal prison camp back in 2008,
Mm-hmm.
and got out early. And I developed a passion while I was in my pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I developed this purpose while I was in my pain. And I said, Lord, I want to do this. I thought I was going to be a clean seminary preacher with a master's of divinity and grow a mega church one day, which was headed that way. And God says, no, I want you in the trenches. I want you where the returning citizens are. And guess what? I'm going to put you right there with them. I'm allow you to be there. I didn't put you there,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to allow you to be there so you can eat what they eat, get up when they get up, work where they work.
Suffer like them, like Jesus suffered for
Suffer
humanity.
like
Like
exactly. So
and Paul calls us. Paul says that that's what we want to know Jesus and the
yes,
fellowship of his suffering, right? So
yes. Oh, don't that scripture makes me mad sometimes. It made me mad.
Philippians 3:10, I think it is something like that. 3.
Yeah, I was in the prison when he showed me. He said, "You're suffering with me,"
Yeah.
but he said he gave me a promise. He said, "You also will reign with me."
Mm-hmm.
This is your death state. Unless the seed falls to the ground and dies, it cannot bear any fruit. So I said, and oftentimes Satan taunts us, the enemy taunts us and say, listen, look, you helping so many other people, you can't even help yourself.
Mm.
And I said, Lord, you're going to let him talk to me like that? Don't let him talk to me like that. I said, he said he talked to me like that. What you talking about? That's how God talks to me, right?
That's right. God will let the devil talk to you any old way. You got to know
Yeah,
that word to speak back. So,
absolutely.
how did you get, when you came out, were y'all living in this area? How did you then get connected to GGRA? Or was that a few years,
Well,
like,
no, yeah. That I was living here. We were here, and that was a few years later after I had gotten out. I started working in reentry and started following my passion here and started doing things, just volunteering. And this is when GGRA came along.
mm-hmm.
I started volunteering before it was GGRA. It was one of the prison fellowships. Scott Kelly had prison fellowship, and he was running some groups. And Russell and I and about 4 or 5 other people were in that meeting. And Scott Kelly, they basically discontinued his position here in Georgia. And so Scott had to do something else. He handed it over to Russell and the group. And Russell because I was pastoring, I came back to pastoring a church and started another church. And I was focused on that. And Russell decided to focus on GGRA, and I was going to help him in that process. Became the second president of GGRA.
Mm.
I was too busy to be the first president, so I became the second president as the organization started to grow. And so I that's how I met. And then the DCS, Department of Community Supervision, position came open as a community coordinator. And I started asking, at this time I'm volunteering. I'm just doing free work for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
learning, developing, getting this in my spirit even more. So after 3 years of doing it inside, now I'm out here doing community work. And then the position came up and everybody kind of looked at me in a GGRA meeting like, that's your, I'm like, really?
Mm-hmm.
I got a record. You think they're going to hire me? They're like, no, you will qualify. You will make it. And they encourage, I even asked them in a meeting, I said, y'all think I should go for this? They're like, absolutely. You're it. You're the person that's supposed to do that. So I went home and asked my wife about it. And she said, dude, you're doing all this stuff for free. You might as well go ahead and get a paycheck in doing it.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it. I just reluctantly tried the position, applied for it. they had a stack of applications like this for the community coordinator position in Gwinnett. My application so happily fell right on top, right? And I was the only person they interviewed, a team of them. And they went and told the chief there, hey, listen, we got your person. Well, he said, no, you need to go through all those other applications, so we could. No, the team of them said, we got the person, we got the person. So they offered me the position. I was in I was in the office. I'm not gonna call any names, but I was in the office there and I said, listen, I got to be honest with you. I got a record. And it's gonna come up later on. I just don't really want to waste your time. And I don't want you to waste my time. I just want to let you know. They say I'm the person for this, but I got a record and I want to tell you that I do, because I'm going to testify about my, at this point, I know God has sent me through prison. I know God allowed me to go, and I know this is a calling on my life. So I had to be honest and transparent with him. He said, no, you don't have a background. You don't have a record. I'm like, yes, I do. He said, no, we got the best system, the best way to check your background, everything. We got the best system here in Georgia. I said, I do. I'm not really joking. And he said, well, we'll check it out. We'll go all the way up the top. We'll vet it and make sure. Till this day, I went to go check and find out, did I have a record? And was it out there? Guess what? They sealed all of my records.
That's awesome.
They pretty much, it's almost like it never happened.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it just maybe God just blinded the, I don't know. But the thing is, my record was clean. And so, so I got this job and loved it.
How many years did you do that?
I did 3.5 years as a community coordinator for Grant.
And then you decided to kind of do more along the lines of your own business to help folks with finding jobs.
Actually, I was already in the I was before the GGRA. I mean, before the DCS job, I had already had housing. And that had to be vetted. I was already pastoring a church. That had to be vetted. I was doing life coaching because Life Empowerment Enterprises was really birthed in prison. Because it was about empowering people and empowering those 4 winds to empower people. So it's about life coaching. That had to be vetted. And I had leaders and people all over those organizations, running those organizations while I was doing DCS, and it got to the point where as a community coordinator, I met a lot of people throughout the state, had the keys to the city pretty much. Because when you're a community coordinator with an initiative that the governor started, you have access. And we did have a lot of access, and they today have access to the city, right? Nobody turned me down when they wanted to meet with me because of the community coordinating position carried that kind of power and influence. And so, but it came to a point where the next thing that God wanted me to do was to start a staffing company. And I knew in my heart that it would be a conflict of interest. And I needed the 40 hours plus a week to do it. So I thought, I need to resign. I just need to resign so I could do this on a full-time basis. And all the other things I were doing, I don't need to neglect them. This is God's thing. So I need that 40 plus hours that I was putting in at DCS now to all these other organizations, because they could not just be ran by people I appointed. I needed to run these organizations myself, and couldn't do it while I was at DCS and do it with integrity. So I had to resign. And that's when I resigned in November 2019 to start Safe Staffing right before the pandemic. Great time, right? Great time to start a business because the pandemic came along in March. But it was a great time because God used that to help me to get funding for the organization to get it off the ground. I didn't even have any funding.
Yeah.
But the funding for the CARES Act helped us to get $25,000 to get it started.
Do you
And
still do Uplift?
mhm. Yeah, Uplift is still growing and developing, and it's really, really doing a lot of work throughout the United States. It's scaled up throughout the United States. It's so
Awesome.
Uplift Transportation is Uber plus Lyft. Well, we give we set up chapters where organizations can use grant monies and things of that nature to give returning citizens a free ride to probation, to wherever they need to go, court,
Job
jobs,
interview. Yeah.
yeah, classes. And so Uplift is just major right now, doing great work, and we have a team of people that run that along with me. So yeah, it's real cool.
We'll have to
Uh,
I'll put in links in the description below the
okay.
YouTube video, and this goes up for people to find out more about those. But tell me before we wrap up about your newest venture, the Tackle the Shackles thing that you talked a little bit about it on the GGRA symposium, which this was
Yeah.
here before that. So
Yeah.
tell me
Oh,
a little bit about what that is. Like, obviously, we got a
tackle the
tackle, we got to talk about
shackles.
football here, and what's the deal?
I was watching football games when this social justice issues that start coming along with Kaepernick and all them trying to take a knee and things of that nature. And I'm really feeling them, that they're really, in a sense, wanting to participate in social justice, but they don't want to lose their job at the same time. Right. So they learned from Kaepernick. Okay. Some of them did, obviously, but then others just was taking a knee because they really believe in change. They want to bring about change, but they don't have a portal for this.
Yeah.
They don't have a process. They don't really know how to. I've heard several NFL players say, I really don't know how to do this, but I want to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And so Tackle the Shackles was birthed with that in mind, with the NFL players in mind. Tackles is the solution. Shackles will be the problem, social problems and issues. And since reentry and prison reform is so close to my heart, we're starting with that. But that's not going to be the only thing we do. Prison reform. It's about bringing solutions to problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided that I was going to start Tackle Shackles. Got team members to help me to do that, and I certified one of the ex-NFL football players, Buddy Curry. He played for the Atlanta Falcons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he got certified as a life coach. Told him about this, and this is what I wanted to do. He put me in touch with a lot of people, and he put me in touch with, in particular, the Arthur Blanks Foundation, and so on and so forth. And it just began to grow as I began to work with other players like Mike Barber, which came to me through another way, not through Mike Buddy Curry. Mike Barber he's been doing 30 years of prison ministry, and he played for the Houston Oilers. How ironic! I'm from Houston, right? And I'm like, he was like my hero. Like I
Yeah.
wanted to play football, and I was like really good, really, really good. I was All-American in running back in Houston, Texas, but then I got bad knees and flat feet, and I couldn't even go
Mm-hmm.
to college. So my career was over. So, but Mike Barber was like him and Earl Cameron and those kind of people. Like, I'm gonna do the NFL one day. But it's not like that. I was not gonna be playing, but I was gonna be connecting players who are ambassadors right now. We got 5 players, NFL football players, former and current players.
Mm-hmm.
Can't mention their names, but I went on to mention those because they're retired.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, it's taken on a whole nother venture. And the goal for that is to become a coalition, a national coalition, education, to make it trendy to help returning citizens and
So is this
others.
something you said not just prison reform and stuff for returning citizens. Are y'all looking to do things to change the laws or legal process on the front end, or what else?
Absolutely. We are bringing politicians in. We're bringing activists in. We're bringing preachers in, police officers. We're bringing all kinds of people that bring about the change in social change.
Mm-hmm.
This is a mega movement where we want to connect people throughout the United States to bring about this movement of change for whatever problem it may be out there.
Yeah.
We want to tackle that shackle. So this is starting to get out of my hand, way out of my hand, and that's a good thing. It's not really for me.
Yeah.
It's for those who got the star power and those who got the influence for them to move forward and to do it better. So we're going to educate. We're also going to raise funds to help providers like GGRA and other organizations that are bringing about change. We kind of want to be the United Way,
Yeah.
another type of United Way for change.
United Way that especially focuses on returning citizens and that struggle. Well, that'd be good. I pray that you can unite people in good faith, because there's people on all sides of different races, different political affiliations that want this kind of change. But I feel like this past year and the past couple of years, racial tensions have been so high that people kind of retreat to their corners.
Yes.
Because no one wants to work together with the bad guy. Like, they're like, no, we want to do our thing to help people and we want to take credit. And over here, they're like, no, we need to do this and we're going to do it and we're going to take credit.
Yes.
And I feel like your organization could have the opportunity to say, there are police officers who want good things, and there are, there are formerly incarcerated individuals, and there are celebrities, and there are these folks and these folks, and they want to make good things happen. Let's work together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we don't have to divide to unify. We can unify on a problem and an issue that everybody can agree to, that it doesn't have to put one group down to put another one up.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to happen. And so this is what Tackle the Shackles is about, to make it very trendy to solve problems. And so that's what that's all about. It's seemed to be taken off in a very wonderful way. You'll have some information on that. We have our own websites on everything I talked about. So yeah, thank you so much for having me here, Rachel.
Yeah, I foresee good things with that. You got infectious positivity.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I got to take that.
Write that down.
Credit for that.
Lee uses his infectious positivity to lead people. I'm reading, this is kind of off the subject, but I'll wrap up with this. I'm reading the letters of Mozart, which he wrote a lot of letters to people, and he died at age 35.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a prolific, obviously, composer, but he had that. He was infectious. He was like almost always just happy and without cynicism, and his letters reflect that. But I've been kind of thinking about that personality and how it's something I need to kind of strive to achieve. But you have that kind of personality too.
Well, it takes one to know one, Rachel. Yeah, because this is what it's about, and I really appreciate your show and how you see things.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We'll put all your information down below.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.